Hey, what's going on, guys? Jason Frausto for TennisUnleashed.net. Today I'm doing a complete match analysis breakdown of the 2025 men's Wimbledon final between Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner. If you want to find out exactly how Sinner beat Alcaraz in this match, stay tuned. It's coming up next. So just before we jump into everything, I want everyone to understand that the numbers and analytics and data you're getting in this video are things and numbers you can't find anywhere else in the world. I used Nacsport Elite software and built the world's largest ever tennis tagging panel to give you this exclusive information and data, so you're not going to find this anywhere else in the world. All right, so with that in mind, let's get into some numbers from the Roland Garros final. Rally lengths are really important in tennis. We know that points are skewing shorter and shorter. It seems like every year, and players are playing much more aggressive styles of tennis. And the Roland Garros final, right, 1 to 4 shot points, rallies that were 1 to 4 shots, made up 55% of the points, with Sinner winning 53% of those points. 5 to 8 shot points were 30% of the points, with Alcaraz winning 53% of those. 9 to 12 shot points were 11% of the points, with Alcaraz taking that category at 56%, and 13 plus shot points were just 4% of the points in the Roland Garros 2025 final between these guys, with Sinner winning 57% of those points. At Wimbledon, right, much faster conditions on the grass, which changes tactics and strategies for both players. That changed everything with the rally lengths. If you look at 1 to 4 shots in particular, we went 66% of the points were in the 1 to 4 shot category. That's plus 11%. Sinner winning 50.3% of those points in this Wimbledon final. 5 to 8 shot points were 25% of the points, with Sinner getting 61% of those points. 9 to 12 shot points were 8% of the points, down 3% there compared to Roland Garros, with Alcaraz collecting 58% of those points. And 13 plus shot points were just 1% of the points in this match, with Alcaraz winning 75% of the points. One of Alcaraz's biggest weapons in that 2025 French Open final was an exclusive stat that we brought you here. On the ad side at Roland Garros, on his first serve, Alcaraz had hit 63% of his first serves as kick serves in that Roland Garros final, and he backed Sinner up into zone 5 of the court. If you're not familiar with the zone system, I'll put a graphic up on the screen real quick of that, but there's 5 zones of the court. He was backing Sinner up into zone 5, and we have the heat maps to kind of show that as well, but backing him up consistently into zone 5 to try to handle Alcaraz's kick serve on the first serve. So in Wimbledon, that kick serve as a first serve was greatly diminished on the ad side, and as a result of that, he wasn't able to back Sinner up into zone 5 the way he was at the French Open, which completely changed the tactics. So if we look at the first serves on the ad side for Alcaraz in this match at Wimbledon, flat serves were 55% of his first serves used at Wimbledon on the ad side. A slice serve as the first serve was 35% of his first serves used, and the kick serve comes in at just 10% used on that ad side as a first serve. And the fact that the kick serve isn't as effective as a first serve on grass for Alcaraz versus clay means, again, Sinner has a closer position up closer into zone 4 to return first serves from, and that took away another weapon for Alcaraz. That means it limited his ability to hit angles off the first shot, the serve +1. It limited his ability to kind of bring him forward with drop shots. With all that in mind, let's take a look at some points now and see how that affected Alcaraz's forehand drop shot in particular. All right, so before we break this down, let's let it play once just in real time here. Alcaraz serving from the ad side, pops the first serve, Sinner with the return, and then Alcaraz hits that forehand drop shot right into the net. So let's go ahead and break it down now. All right, so again, Alcaraz here serving, first serve, pops it, was hitting some really good and effective big first serves. Sinner here, up inside again, zone 4, where in that French Open final, right, we know he was back in zone 5. Just from our heat maps showing his return position, Alcaraz couldn't back him up as much. And why does that matter so much? Because when Sinner hits this return and he hits it a little bit weak, look at where Sinner is standing after he hits that weak return. A lot of times we think a player is going to get aggressive, so we really want to back up into the deeper zones of the court back here, getting back into zone 5. But Sinner was staying closer to the baseline as the match went on and was trying to take away the drop shot, particularly this forehand drop shot, from Alcaraz and apply more pressure when Alcaraz tried to use that forehand drop shot. So Alcaraz, again, here, really good disguise on the drop shot. He really holds this until the last second, right? Does a great job of holding and disguising. You don't see it coming, but again, he hits it. And because Sinner is so close to the baseline up in zone 4, Alcaraz feels like he really has to thread the needle and hit this drop shot perfectly. And because he feels like he has to hit it so well and so short, he ends up making the mistake and making the error right here, and then Sinner collects the point. So again, return right here. Feels like he has to thread the needle. There's pressure that it has to be perfect, and then he can't get away with it. If Sinner, instead of being here, right, in zone 4, if Sinner was back in zone 5, Alcaraz doesn't have to hit as good of a drop shot to win this point. He doesn't have to hit a perfect drop shot. But when Sinner is only here in zone 4, it's not that far for him to run up here to get to the ball. So that applies more pressure to Alcaraz just with Sinner's court position. Let's move on to the next point now. And before we break this one down, let's let it play once in real time. Alcaraz serving ad side again, near side, pops it. Similar situation, weaker return from Sinner. And then again, Alcaraz nets the forehand drop shot, which his forehand drop shot is known really for its disguise and how lethal it is. It's a really big weapon because he holds it until the last second. You don't see it coming until the last second. Now, Sinner starts back here, right, closer to zone 5. He has a deeper position, but look what he does, right? As Alcaraz goes to serve, he starts to move in here. Watch the body, right? Everything's going forward and getting him a little bit closer to the baseline so he's not as susceptible to the drop shot. He hits a very weak return off of a very good Alcaraz serve. It lands here short in zone number 1. If you're not familiar with the 5-zone system, net to service line is zone 1. Any balls landing in there would be zone 1 balls. Service line to 3/4 court here is going to be zone 2. 3/4 court to the baseline is zone 3. Baseline to halfway to the back wall or fence is zone 4, and then zone 5 is halfway to the back fence all the way to the back wall or fence. That would be zone 5. I'm tracking where every single ball is landing with the software, all the zones it's landing in, and then all the zones that you're hitting the ball from as well. So Alcaraz is currently in zone 3 here and receiving a ball from zone 1 that he's going to strike, right? And then he misses that trying to hit it into zone number 1 right there. But why does he miss it? Look at Sinner again, holding a little closer to the baseline, and that applies pressure to Alcaraz where he feels like he has to hit the perfect drop shot instead of just hitting a pretty good drop shot. There's pressure with position, and then he nets it right there. And one really interesting stat with Alcaraz's drop shots on the forehand side from this match, he had a total of 12 forehand drop shots in this match, and he just won 5 of those points, right? 42% of the points won. But Alcaraz actually won his first 5 forehand drop shot points in this match and lost the next 7 in a row. And that's something from his team's perspective, man, you want to communicate that to your player that, hey, yeah, you won 5 in the beginning, but Sinner is staying tighter to the baseline, so that drop shot now is not going to be as effective because he's holding a tighter position closer where he doesn't have to run as far to get your drop shots, so it's going to apply more pressure to you, and you may make more mistakes than he did because he lost 7 in a row to finish this match after winning the first 5. You need to sense these changes and these things, these flows of the match and what your opponent is changing tactically, whether it's position, ball striking, whatever, and you need to adjust in real time in a match, and he did not make that adjustment. Let's move on to the next thing now. So another stat that we're tracking exclusively in this software is we're tracking exactly where every single shot and every single point is hit. So we separate the court, right, basic tennis, into the deuce side, which is basically the forehand side for a righty, and we have the ad side, which would be the backhand side for a righty. In this match, Alcaraz hit 36% of his shots to the deuce side of Sinner's court, to the forehand side. Alcaraz hit 64% of his shots to the ad side of the court. If we look at Sinner's numbers, 42% of his shots were aimed towards the Alcaraz forehand side in the deuce side of the court, and 58% were aimed towards the ad side of the court, landing there to the Sinner backhand. So if there's one big thing we can take away from those numbers, Alcaraz was hiding from the Sinner forehand. So let's take a look at some points now, see exactly how Alcaraz did that, and let's also see how Sinner worked around it. All right, before we break this point down, let's let it play once in real time. Sinner serving ad side, pops it down the tee, kick serve, loopy return from Alcaraz, backhand up the middle of the court. Sinner thumps that forehand. Alcaraz protecting to the backhand, on the run to the backhand again. And then Sinner makes the error right there. Let's go ahead and let's break this one down now. All right, so again, Sinner serving ad side, far side. It's a second serve. We can see a clear arching of the back right here that gives away the kick serve, along with the toss arcing like this. We know it's a kick serve coming. Alcaraz definitely knows that. Sinner does a good job though, right? Even with that kick serve, that kind of blatant toss, getting some nice pop on it and really getting it to jump up here. And look at Alcaraz here with the high contact above the shoulder, and he's reaching, so he's going to hit a weaker return for the most part. It's going to lack some power from that position. He does a good job of getting it deep, but just kind of loops it really deep and gets Sinner to back up, go on the back foot, And when Sinner's on the back foot like this, we talked about these analogies before, like boxing. When you're throwing a punch, a haymaker, trying to deliver a big blow in boxing, you want your body weight going forward into that punch. In tennis, it's the same thing. You want the body weight going forward when you want to be aggressive, but you can't always do that because tennis is a give and take game. You take what you're given and you give something back. It's not completely in your control. You control about 50% of what's going on right there, right? Because you hit one shot, they hit one shot. In this situation, Sinner definitely playing defense off the back foot, doing the right thing. Let's see what he does. And a lot of times, again, even for Sinner, hitting 58% of his balls, right, to the ad side of Alcaraz, that's the backhand side. When they're on defense, this is a very normal and simple strategy for tour players at this level. A lot of times when they have to hit defensive balls, they will play into the backhand because they fear the gigantic forehands from the opposite player. So Sinner does the same thing to Alcaraz right here, kind of hides into the backhand when he has to play defense. It's smart. And then Alcaraz says, okay, I've got a weaker ball. I'm going to get aggressive. And he tries to take it down the line a little bit, lands a little bit more in the middle court, but it is in zone 3 pretty deep right here. So he's got Sinner a little bit back, but we'll see what Sinner does with the ball. Sinner, just titanic forehand. That forehand is just ridiculous. The amount of leg that Sinner gets is just incredible. We've talked about his tip flip. I kind of coined that phrase a year or two ago, but I've talked about the tip behind the elbow position on the forehand for 4 or 5 years. You can see my Sinner forehand analysis video I did back in 2021, talking about how does this guy get so much power? The tip of his racket head gets well behind his elbow in the back of the swing. And we can see that a little bit more there. It's tough to see even zoomed in like this, but it really disappears behind the elbow. He has a lot of elasticity in his swing. And this is something that's really common for most players now, but it's essential at the tour level to have this type of elasticity so you can really pound the ball. And he has that. Thumps it over here, zone 3, right to a big target. And now he has Alcaraz running to this shot. And Alcaraz is scrambling. He's off balance. When players get in these defensive positions, what they will usually do is take their hips and drop them down, which helps your center of gravity and helps you control the direction of your shot when you're in defensive position. So always drop the hips like this to control the ball. And he's going to hide. And we talked about this before. 64% of balls he was hitting to Sinner's ad side, this half of the court, right? He's going to hide on defense to Sinner's backhand because he knows Sinner's backhand, while yes, it's lethal, it's not as aggressive as his forehand. He has more MPH on average on the forehand side than he does on his backhand. So he's going to hide here. He's not going to play the macho shot. He's just hiding and trying to survive and play another ball. That's all he's doing, playing defense here. Sinner racks it. Alcaraz trusts his own legs and his ability to run. Again, he really drops his hips down here and gets low and anchors himself down because he wants to control this. I guarantee back to the ad side of the court to try to hide into the backhand corner. He's trying to avoid this forehand unless he has a great look at getting aggressive and doing damage with the shot. And he doesn't have that opportunity here. He hides into the backhand corner, is trying to survive and wait for something better. Sinner gets low, cranks it, and misses it. Why did Sinner miss this backhand? In my opinion here, he is reaching just a couple inches for this ball. He's extending and reaching a little bit too far. That's enough to lose control of the ball. Your positioning needs to be really good to get aggressive. And then he misses it right there. But Alcaraz did a phenomenal job, right? Hiding and taking balls to Sinner's backhand side, the ad side, to try to avoid that humongous forehand. All right, let's move on to the next point now. And before we break this down, let's let it play once in real time. Sinner serving deuce side, Alcaraz returning there, backhand side, Sinner good ball, backhand side again, especially on defense. Sinner cranks, and then we've got the forced error there from Alcaraz. Sinner doing damage with that big backhand. Let's back it up here now. All right, let's get into the point. Second serve situation looks like a kick again. Alcaraz here. This is where athleticism is really, really critical in tennis. Not every ball you're going to hit, right, is going to be hit at waist height. A lot of times your kids are starting out, they're taking tennis lessons, everything, instructors say, oh, hit everything at your waist. That's not how pro tennis is played. Not everything can be struck at your waist. Your opponent's going to do the best they can to extend the strike zone and get balls up on you like this, make them uncomfortable. And if they can, get some balls down on you. The up is easier than the down in tennis. So trying to get balls out of your strike zone. You've got to be athletic to explode up into these balls and comfortably take them and control them so you're not making mistakes when people get balls out of your strike zone. You need to be able to handle those. So Alcaraz here, again, going to play to the backhand, even though the most likely play for Sinner is going to be to hit to the open court and run Alcaraz. Alcaraz trusts his legs and his ability to play defense. So Sinner racks that cross deep into zone 3. Could have been deeper, but it's a good ball. Alcaraz is going to play it safe. He's going to try to hide into that backhand corner. Sinner does a good job, very good job defending the depth on Alcaraz's backhand here, right? Why is depth like this so lethal? You can take the ball at 3 different times after the bounce if you're letting it bounce. You can take it at its highest point after it bounces. So it bounces, it comes up, it reaches its apex. You can take it after its apex. So it bounces, it reaches its highest point, it drops 2 to 4 inches, give or take, on the fall. You can take the ball on the fall, or you can take the ball before its apex. You can intercept it, and you can take the ball on the rise. On the rise is the toughest of the 3 to perform, and the reason is because when you take the ball on the rise, you can lose control of it easily and hit a ball that floats or sits up. And if it floats or sits up, your opponent is absolutely going to destroy the next ball. That's why on the rise, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, of course you should, but is the riskiest shot to do, and that's why pros back up and let balls come up a lot of times and are more comfortable doing that. So Sinner here handles this really well, and look what he does. Puts out a few inches, right? 4 to 6 inches from the baseline there. He's got Alcaraz on his back foot, and in this situation, Alcaraz really needs to play defense because his body weight, right? Look at him going backwards, going backwards, going backwards. He can't deliver body weight into the ball, so it makes it tougher to be aggressive. Not that you can never be aggressive backing up. Of course you can, but he's literally falling back, so he's going to loop this, and he does. But the mistake that Alcaraz makes is it lands short in zone 2, and now Sinner has his body weight coming forward, and he's going to step up and really pound this backhand. Boom, there it is. And then Alcaraz makes the mistake. As this match went on, we're in the 4th set in this particular game and point. Sinner really started to up the quality of the backhands. That first backhand was aggressive and deep. This was incredible. To get this deep off of Alcaraz's deep ball here on the rise, extremely difficult to do, and hit it heavy and force Alcaraz on defense. And because Sinner's backhand is so big, he doesn't always have to run around his backhand to go hit a forehand from here. His backhand's lethal. He can take this, and he did it, and spank it and get you to make the mistake and do damage to you. All right, let's move on to the next point now. If you haven't seen our channel before, I do something called big and small targets. I track where every ball lands in a point. So small targets in a match are balls that are 2 or less feet from the single sideline. They're landing closer to the sidelines. And big targets are more than 2 feet inside the single sidelines. So in this match, Sinner had a really interesting tactic. He didn't hit a ton of small targets in this match. He hit 20 small targets to Alcaraz's deuce side of the court, which isn't that high of a number. When he hit them over there, though, he hit balls that were very, very aggressive to the small target area because he knows if he goes to Alcaraz's forehand, it's got to be a ball that's not easy for Alcaraz to hit. It's got to either be really deep and hard, right? He's not going to give him anything weak. Or when he goes for small targets, it's got to be the type of shot that's either going to end the point or do significant damage to Alcaraz, where Sinner can get the advantage on the next ball and then hopefully finish on the next shot. So with that in mind, let's take a look at some of Sinner's small targets to Alcaraz's forehand side, the deuce side, and see how he used that to maneuver Alcaraz and really do some damage in this match. All right, so before we break this down, let's let it play once in real time. Sinner here serving on the near side. Hard slice to the body, chip return, runs around, hits the big forehand, and then another forehand this time down the line. Alcaraz cranks a small target cross. Look at Sinner respond. The speedometer, and the winner at the end with the fist pump. The guy gets pumped up, and he lets everybody know because he should be excited about a shot like that. Let's go ahead and let's break this one down now. So again, Sinner serving near side. A little bit more again of the slice toss and the slice contact here. We can see that clear as day. Where that ball is being hit compared to where his shoulder is, definitely more of a first serve slice toss here. Cranks it right at the body. And the reason he did this, look at Alcaraz kind of doing the old Djokovic. Watch Alcaraz. Alcaraz actually cheats to his right, our left, his right, before Sinner hits. Look at him. He's splitting. See that? He splits this way, just a little bit. And because he splits that way, this slice right into the hip worked really well. And then he forced the chip return from Alcaraz, the weak return right there, because he caught him. And then he steps around and gets control of the point early by trying to crank this inside in forehand, stepping around the backhand here to crank the forehand, spanks it really deep into zone 3, very close to the baseline right there and somewhat close to the single sideline, right? Alcaraz comes over, hits a nice forehand. Sinner here decides to change the direction of the forehand, goes down the line into zone 2. And this is a ball where Alcaraz can get aggressive because the ball is hit not that hard and pretty short, close to the service line in zone 2. Chance for Alcaraz to get aggressive here, and he does by cranking the small target here into zone 2. And now he's got Sinner running to his left. This athleticism from Sinner here, very, very impressive. On the full slide, over to his left, pretty much doing the splits here, right? Pretty close to it. Out into the alley and reaching for a backhand. But what is he going to do? Takes that down the line and surprises Alcaraz. Alcaraz not really ready for that, not expecting it. But Sinner, great control of the body, and then just takes it, spanks the small target. Alcaraz on the dead run to the forehand does a very good job from here of hitting it back to the other side and forcing Sinner to run. But what do we say? We said when Sinner went for small targets, right, he was aggressive. When he went for them on the deuce side to the Alcaraz forehand, he wanted to do damage. He wanted to end the points. He wanted to put Alcaraz in big trouble. Alcaraz handles this, though, very well and loops it to the other side. But look at the speedometer we've got on Sinner. I wanted to put this on them because the guy is tall and he's lanky, but he's really improved his speed the last couple of years, and we'll see it here in a second with his top speed. Look at the top speed. As he goes to make contact with the ball, he's at 13.5 miles an hour, running from one side of the court to the other, dead run, maintains balance, and then look at his top speed. His top speed, it's 15.4 miles an hour right there, which is incredible. And then he smacks that shot for a winner, which is just absolutely unbelievable. So anyways, go back for a second. It starts here. Alcaraz does the damage with his backhand to a small target. Sinner sprints out on the dead run, maintains excellent balance, and does counter damage back to Alcaraz. What is counter damage? Counter damage is anytime your opponent does damage to you or hurts you with their shot, you're able to turn the tables on them and you're able to do damage against them when they've done damage to you. You're not supposed to be able to do that, but he does it right here. He counters and does damage at the same time. And now Sinner is on the dead run. He counters and he gets Sinner on the run again, but then Sinner with the counter winner and just says, I'm ending this point. And that last shot kind of deceiving because Sinner, you think he hits small target, but it's really nowhere near a small target. It just has so much pace on it that he ends the point right there. Very impressive and athletic point from Sinner. And I loved how he used the small targets on the deuce side when he needed it to really deliver some big damage. Let's move on to the next point now. All right, before we break this one down, let's let it play once in real time. Sinner returning on the near side. Look at that. Deep from him. Deep back, smacks it. Off the back foot, small target, deuce side winner. Thank you very much. That's incredible. All right, let's back this up here real quick. Just impressive from Sinner right off the bat. You can tell that this guy has learned from Novak Djokovic a little bit on the return of serve, and here's why. Djokovic used to be the king, and probably still is, of having serves hit at or away from him, right, with extremely difficult balance positions. Optimal balance in tennis is this. See his head right here? I've talked about this for years. His head should be over and in line with his hips, but it's not. It's more in line with his left hip than it is the middle of his hips. I would want to see a straight line pretty much through the middle of his hips for optimal balance. The reason he doesn't have that is because the quality of the Alcaraz serve was so good. He can't have that position. He's trying to get out of the way. This is difficult to do with almost no time to react to the ball. But even in this poor balance position, watch what he does with the quality of the return. He hits deep in zone 3, pretty close to the baseline. This is something that used to be exclusive basically to Novak Djokovic. Sinner is hitting returns like this. That's one thing that makes him a lethal returner, off balance returns, but still hitting this type of quality, which puts Alcaraz in a very difficult position. So we see Alcaraz wind up for the forehand here, hits it heavy. His goal is to play a defensive forehand lifting like this to just try to keep Sinner off his back, get him on his back foot, try to get him into defense. But this isn't quite deep enough. But yeah, it's a zone 3 ball, but it's not deep enough to tame Sinner. Sinner winds up and hits the next forehand better than the last one because it's a hair deeper than the previous one. Alcaraz into defensive mode, loops it down the line to the backhand. And one thing that's really interesting here, tactically, Alcaraz, you're going to see, he starts moving to his left, our right, but his left. He's anticipating the Sinner backhand to the ad side cross court because that's the percentage shot because of the depth that Alcaraz just produced here. He hit a deep ball. The percentage play is for Sinner to go here, but we know Sinner doesn't do that. He goes off his back foot, weight going backwards, 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 and he takes this and then cranks a small target deuce side winner when it's unexpected. That was a high-risk play from Sinner, and the reason I say that it was high risk to take this and go down the line for the winner was because it's 30-all in the score line right here. We're in the fourth set, and it's 1-all, and it's Alcaraz's serve. Sinner was that confident to take this big risk on an important point at 30-all. Felt like, hey, I'm going to go for this because look at Alcaraz. He's moving to the right. Watch the feet again of Alcaraz. Look at, he split steps and lands to the right. And by the time he lands, that ball is already gone. He's going the wrong way. And then there's the winner. So Sinner, that gives him a break point in that game, and that's huge in the fourth set to get an advantage there against Alcaraz and put some more pressure on Alcaraz's serve. And we're looking at how Sinner used small targets right there, talking about he made 20 small targets to the deuce side alone, but let's look at the big and small targets in this match. Alcaraz's big targets in this match were 89% of his total shots. His small targets in this match were just 11% of his shots. Sinner's numbers literally mirrored his. Sinner's big targets in this match were 89% of all the shots that he hit, and his small targets in this match were just 11% of his shots. So we looked at some small targets there, but they were only 11% of the shots he made in this match. And before we get into the last set of points now, we want to talk a little bit about a category called damage that I came up with in 2014. Damage, again, is basically any time in a point where you hurt an opponent with your shot. You get them on defense, you get them on the run, get them on their back foot. You damage them and cause a problem for them in the point. Tennis is a game of damage. It's not a game of hitting clean winners. In this match, the damage totals for Jannik Sinner. He did damage to Alcaraz in this match 106 times. Alcaraz did damage back to Sinner just 72 times in this match. That is a plus 34 advantage to Jannik Sinner. And what we're going to look at next is the second serve return damage. Sinner did a good job of applying occasional pressure on second serve returns. When Alcaraz was serving and hitting a second serve, he put more pressure on Alcaraz than Alcaraz put on him. Sinner did damage to Alcaraz in this match 17 times with second serve returns. Alcaraz did damage back to Sinner just 10 times. And over the course of this match, I believe that took a toll on Alcaraz and applied a lot of pressure to his second serve. With that in mind and those numbers in mind, let's take a look at the last 2 points now. And before we break this down, let's let it play once in real time. Alcaraz, far side, ad side, kick serve. Small target, almost there from Sinner. Punishes the next one, again, almost to a small target, and then finishes with the volley winner. So let's back this up here real quick and break it down. Second serve right here. And just before we get into this second serve, I want to talk a little bit about the second serve return positions, the difference between the two players. Sinner, if we bring up his heat map from this match, his heat map and positioning of his second serve returns, you can see a lot of second serve returns for Sinner that are taking place inside the baseline in zone 3. Why is he doing that? He's trying to get himself closer to Alcaraz to take time from Alcaraz to do more damage. If we look at Alcaraz's heat map in this match, we can see he's got some back in zone 5 on second serve returns against Sinner. He's got some in zone 4 and some in zone 3, a little bit more variety. But Sinner here very clearly returning a lot of second serves from zone 3 to take time away and try to do damage and apply pressure to Alcaraz. So here's the second serve from Alcaraz. Clear kick serve with that ball toss, right? Second serve. And look at Sinner here, just inside the baseline with the feet. I know it's a little hard to see right there, but just getting inside the baseline a little bit into zone 3, getting everything here to take time away from Alcaraz. Hits the return, very aggressive, almost a small target, almost on the edge right there, and gets Alcaraz off balance, stretching and reaching, which means he can probably expect a short, weak shot, and that's what he gets. A ball inside zone 2 right to this massive Sinner super tip flip forehand. The guy's got a crazy forehand, so much spin and power. He spanks it to the opposite side, pretty close to a small target in zone 3. He's got Alcaraz running now. From Alcaraz's left side of the court, the ad side, he's going to run over to the right side of the deuce side on the sprint. And I'm really loving the awareness and the percentage of net points that Sinner won in this match. He knows that, okay, I've got Alcaraz stretched to one corner. I'm going to go close to the lines over here in the opposite corner. And when you do this, you can a lot of times expect a very defensive floaty type shot. And when you get this floaty type of shot, it's a good time to come into the net to try to finish the next shot. If you don't come in and they float the ball back, that gives them time to recover and potentially reset the point. So Sinner knows I'm going close to the sidelines. He's made up his mind. And because of that running Alcaraz is going to do, he's sneaking into the net now. Look at him coming in. Alcaraz, sure enough, on the complete stretch, which means the ball is going to be weak. Sinner floats in. Boop. And there's the backhand volley winner. So Sinner has really improved his net game. There is more room for improvement there. But the recognition that, hey, I've got you running from this side of the court all the way over here. You're going to have to run a ton. And I know if I hit it big, close to the sideline here relatively, I can sneak in and finish. And Sinner didn't have to hit a small target there. He didn't, to get that type of pressure against Alcaraz and force him into those weak shots. But again, really love what Sinner's doing with his net game. Let's move on to the final point now. And before we break this down, let's let it play once in real time. Alcaraz ad side again, second serve, kick. Look at the power from Sinner and the whip on the shots. Incredible. And then Alcaraz forced into that forehand slice error there. Let's go ahead and break this down now, guys. So again, serving, ad side, second serve. We see that arching in the back a little bit there and the position. We know the kick is coming. It lands relatively short in the box. Look at Sinner. We talked about this, right? Getting up into zone 3. We looked at the heat maps before. We can see he's returning from zone 3 a lot more often than Alcaraz is, taking his time away. And he cranks the backhand here. And we can see that this is going to give Alcaraz some trouble because Alcaraz is a little bit too close to the ball in his left to right space. He's jammed by Sinner's pace just a little bit here. When you get jammed on a shot like this, right? Look at him. He's trying to get out of the way. Watch Alcaraz trying to get out of the way, trying to make space, but he can't make enough space. When you get jammed like this, you tend to hit weaker, shorter balls that land in zone 1 or 2. And Sinner knows that he's done some damage to Alcaraz here, and he's expecting the weak ball. He gets it, right? What did I say? And there's the zone 2 ball. So Sinner's getting ready. Body weight delivered into this shot on this particular shot, and he's going to use that big leg on the backhand and spanks it confidently. Look at that. Boom. Down the line. Now Alcaraz running to hit the running forehand slice from here, zone 4/5. And then he just can't make that shot right there. But what Sinner did really, really well is he got these second serves where he could apply some pressure with, stepping forward, getting closer to Alcaraz, getting, again, into zone 3 a bit here, and then putting some big pressure with pace, and then using that leg on the backhand side to continue to deliver the damage to Alcaraz. All right, guys, that wraps it up for our 2025 Men's Wimbledon Finals analysis between Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. Again, we use Nacsport Elite software to do this deep dive and gather almost 12,000 unique data points from this match to bring you this exclusive content. You will not find these numbers or information anywhere else in the world. We also offer this service to people privately. You can email us at info@tennisunleashed.net for more information to improve your game or your child's game. If you found this video helpful today or you feel like you learned something, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I'm Jason Frausto for tennisunleashed.net. I'll see you next time.